The Galactic Council's central chamber fell silent as Director Thaddeus Kane's hologram flickered into view. His weathered face betrayed no emotion as he faced the assembled representatives of 300 starfaring civilizations. Above them, the artificial stars of the Council's display system tracked the known history of the galaxy, 13 billion years of cosmic evolution. Esteemed members of the Council, Kane began, his voice carrying the weight of centuries of human silence. You've called this session to discuss humanity's recent military activities. High Chancellor Vorax of the Centaurian Collective rose, his crystalline form catching the starlight. Activities? Your primitive species has been detected moving unauthorized vessels through restricted space. Vessels that somehow resist all known scanning methods. Kane's lips curved slightly. After centuries of hiding, of maintaining the facade of humanity's technological inferiority, the moment had finally arrived. Primitive, he repeated softly. An interesting choice of words, Chancellor. Tell me, how old would you say those stars above us are? This is no time for astronomy lessons, snapped Ambassador XY Eldar of the Silicon Dynasties. Your species barely achieved light speed a century ago. You operate with borrowed technology, yet suddenly our deep space outposts report ships of impossible configuration in human space. Impossible, Kane nodded. Because they predate everything you know. Everything you think you understand about the universe itself. The chamber erupted in murmurs. In her private observation pod, Commander Morgan Chen of Earth's Strategic Command watched the feed intently. After generations of pretending to be technological infants, humanity was finally showing its hand. Preposterous, Vorax declared. You expect us to believe. The holographic stars above them suddenly flickered and died. In their place appeared a new image, a massive vessel emerging from the darkness of deep space. Its hull was composed of material that seemed to drink in light itself, covered in geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly. It made the largest Council dreadnought look like a child's toy. This, Kane said quietly, is the precursor. One of humanity's 12 guardian vessels. It was old when the first stars of our universe ignited. It was ancient when the first atoms formed in the cosmic void. We didn't build it. We inherited it, from those who came before. Before everything. In the stunned silence that followed, Kane's words fell like stones into still water. Humanity isn't young, Chancellor. We're the custodians of something so old it defies your comprehension. Those primitive ships you mock? Decoys. Facades. The real fleet has been here all along, waiting. Commander Chen watched as realization dawned on the alien faces. Their carefully maintained illusion of superiority was crumbling. The precursor's readings were being transmitted to every scientific institute in Council space, proof that its material composition predated the formation of matter itself. Deep within Earth's Prometheus base, Dr. Victoria Nash stood before a wall of monitors, each showing different sections of the revealed warship. After 15 years studying the vessels, she still couldn't fully grasp their capabilities. The beings who created them had existed in the void before time itself, harnessing powers that made faster-than-light travel look like stone tools. Director Kane's done it, her colleague, Dr. James Okafor, announced as he entered the control room. The Council's in chaos. The Arcturus sector's already pledging neutrality, and the hegemony battle fleet is retreating to their core worlds. Victoria nodded absently, her attention fixed on new data streaming in. James, look at these readings. The precursor, it's not just revealing itself. It's waking up. They are all waking up. Across the solar system, buried in dimensional pockets that had kept them hidden for eons, 11 more vessels stirred. Each one was unique, designed for purposes that no modern mind could fully comprehend. They were warships, yes, but they were also something more, keys to understanding the nature of existence itself. In Council space, the news spread like wildfire. Humanity, the supposedly young and primitive species, had been hiding ships that were literally older than the stars. Ships that could potentially unmake reality itself. The balance of power didn't just shift, it shattered. And in the depths of space, something ancient stirred. Something that remembered these ships, remembered why they were created in the first place. The time of hiding was over. Now came the time to remember why beings from before the stars had created weapons of such power, and what enemy they had been meant to face. The aftermath of Director Kane's revelation sent shockwaves through galactic civilization. Within 48 hours, the balance of power that had stood for millennia crumbled like dust in a solar wind. The precursor's mere existence had rewritten everything the galaxy's eldest races thought they knew about the universe itself. In the Prometheus base's quantum meditation chamber, Dr. Victoria Nash pressed her palm against the obsidian wall of the ancient vessel they designated as Harbinger. Unlike its sister ship Precursor, this one remained in partial dimensional flux, existing simultaneously in multiple layers of space-time. The energy signatures are increasing, she reported, her voice echoing in the cavernous space. It's like they are communicating. Behind her, Dr. James Okafor studied streams of impossible data flowing across his quantum tablet. Not just communicating, he muttered. Look at these patterns. They are synchronizing. A deep vibration suddenly pulsed through the chamber, causing the very air to shimmer with prismatic light. Victoria stepped back from the wall, her heart racing. After 15 years of studying these vessels, she'd never seen anything like this. All vessels are showing similar responses, Commander Chen's voice crackled through their facility's comm system. Whatever's happening, it's affecting all 12 ships simultaneously. In high orbit above Earth, the Precursor's enormous form began to shift, its surface rippling like liquid metal. Geometric patterns that had remained dormant for eons blazed with internal light, casting shadows that didn't follow normal physics. Director Kane stood on the observation deck of Lunar Base Alpha, watching the transformation with a mixture of awe and trepidation. Status report, he commanded. Sir, Lieutenant Rivera's voice was tense. We're detecting temporal distortions around all 12 vessels. They are pulling energy directly from the quantum vacuum. Power readings are beyond anything our instruments can measure. In the Galactic Council's emergency session, panic had replaced the earlier skepticism. High Chancellor Vorax's crystalline form vibrated with barely contained fear as he addressed the assembly. These vessels, he began, his translator struggling to convey the complexity of his emotions, they are not just weapons. Our deepest scans suggest they are reality engines. Ambassador XY Eldar's silicon matrix pulsed with agitation. Explain. The power readings we're detecting, Vorax continued, suggest these ships don't just predate the stars, they may have been instrumental in creating them. The patterns we're seeing, they match theoretical models of universe formation itself. The chamber erupted in chaos. The implications were staggering. If these ships possessed the power to influence cosmic formation, what else were they capable of? Back in Prometheus Base, Victoria and James worked frantically to understand the cascade of new data pouring in from the awakening vessels. Each ship seemed to be assuming a specific role, forming a network of power that defied comprehension. Look at this, James called out, projecting a holographic model of the solar system. 12 points of light pulsed in perfect synchronization, forming a geometric pattern that seemed to extend into dimensions beyond normal space. It's a key, Victoria breathed, recognition dawning in her eyes. The ships, they are not just weapons or creation engines. They are keys to something bigger. Something. Her words were cut off by a sudden alert. Every screen in the facility flashed red as new data poured in. Deep space sensors were detecting something massive approaching from the direction of the galactic core. Commander Chen's voice rang through their facility, all personnel to battle stations. We have multiple unknown contacts approaching at FTL speeds. Energy signatures suggest they are similar to our vessels. In orbit, the Precursor's transformation completed. Its surface now rippled with patterns that seemed to reflect the very structure of space-time. From its core, a voice spoke, not in words, but in concepts that burned themselves into the minds of all who heard them. Ancient enemy approaches. Defense protocol initiated. Makers wore resumes. Director Kane's hands gripped the observation rail as he watched the impossible unfold. Humanity had inherited these ships, becoming custodians of power beyond imagination. Now they would learn why such power had been necessary in the first place. In the void between stars, something ancient and terrible approached, a force that remembered these ships, remembered why they had been created. The galaxy was about to learn that the universe held secrets far darker than anyone had imagined, and humanity stood at the center of it all. In Prometheus Base, Victoria stared at the new data streaming in, her mind struggling to process what she was seeing. "James," she whispered, "I think I know why these ships were hidden. Why they chose Earth as their resting place. Why? Because we're not just their custodians. We're their successors. These ships weren't left here by accident. They were waiting for us to evolve, to reach a point where we could understand them. And now? Now what?" Victoria's eyes met his, filled with both wonder and fear. "Now we have to finish what their creators started. The war that began before the stars themselves, it never ended. It was just waiting. Waiting for us." The void between Pluto and the Kuiper belt erupted with energy as reality itself seemed to tear. Through the dimensional breach emerged shapes that defied description, dark vessels that appeared to be made from crystallized time itself, their surfaces reflecting events that hadn't happened yet. In Prometheus Base's command center, Dr. Victoria Nash watched the incoming feed with growing horror. 7 vessels, she reported, her voice steady despite the fear churning in her gut. "Configuration matches pre-universal architecture, but these are wrong somehow." Director Kane's hologram flickered as he responded, "Wrong how, Doctor?" "Our ships," Victoria gestured to the display showing the 12 Guardian vessels, now fully awakened and moving into defensive positions around the solar system. "They are built to create, to shape reality. These new ones, they are designed to unmake it." The Galactic Council's emergency observation fleet hung at the edge of the solar system, their most advanced sensors struggling to comprehend what they were witnessing. High Chancellor Vorax's private transmission to Earth carried none of his former condescension. "Director Kane," the crystalline being's voice trembled, "our deepest archives speak of a time before time, when the void was contested by forces beyond comprehension. We always thought they were myths." "They weren't myths, Chancellor," Kane replied grimly. "They were warnings." In the quantum meditation chamber, James Okafor worked frantically to decode the streams of data now pouring from the Harbinger's consciousness. The ship's awakening had unlocked access to memories older than matter itself. "It's showing me something," he called out to Victoria through the comm images, "no, memories. The beings who created these ships, they weren't just advanced aliens. They were the original architects of reality itself." The chamber's walls pulsed with ancient light as the Harbinger shared its knowledge. James saw visions of beings composed of pure thought, existing in the primordial void before the Big Bang. They had shaped the very laws of physics, crafted the first stars, given birth to space and time themselves. But they hadn't been alone. Commander Chen's voice cut through their base's comm system, multiple temporal distortions detected. "The enemy vessels they are trying to unwrite local spacetime." Outside, the battle began. The precursor moved first, its impossible form shifting through dimensions as it engaged the nearest void ship. Energy that could have ignited new stars coursed between them. Where their weapons met, reality itself buckled and warped. "The architects," James continued, his voice filled with awe as more knowledge poured into his mind. "That's what they called themselves. They built our universe, shaped it, filled it with light and life. But there were others, beings who preferred the void, who saw creation itself as an abomination." Victoria watched as the 12 Guardian vessels moved in perfect synchronization, forming a geometric pattern that seemed to stabilize the very fabric of space around Earth. "The Void Dancers," she whispered, the name coming to her from somewhere deep in racial memory. "They want to return everything to darkness." In orbit, the battle escalated. The enemy vessels attacked with weapons that didn't just destroy, they erased, unmaking anything they touched from existence itself. But humanity's guardian ships responded with equal power, their ancient defenses holding firm. Director Kane received urgent updates from across the solar system. The very laws of physics were straining as powers that predated them clashed in open war. "How do we stop them?" he demanded. "Through the quantum link," the Harbinger answered. Not in words, but in pure understanding that flooded through James's consciousness. It's not about stopping them, he realized. It's about remembering. The ships, they chose humanity for a reason. We're not just their custodians. We're their descendants. Victoria's eyes widened as the truth clicked into place. The architects, she breathed. They didn't just leave us these ships. They became us. Seeded their essence into primitive Earth, guided our evolution. We're carrying their legacy in our very DNA. As if in response to this realization, the 12 Guardian vessels pulsed with new power. Their synchronized formation began to rotate, forming a pattern that mirrored the original moment of creation itself. Through their quantum link, they spoke to humanity with one voice. Remember who you are. Remember what you were. The power to shape reality flows through your veins. Around Earth, humans began to feel something stir in their collective consciousness, memories older than time, knowledge that had been sleeping in their genes for millions of years. They weren't just inheritors of these ancient ships. They were the final act of creation by beings who had shaped the universe itself. In the space between planets, the battle raged on. But now, with each passing moment, humanity began to understand more of their true nature, their true power. The war that had begun before the stars was approaching its final chapter, and its outcome would determine not just the fate of Earth or the galaxy, but of reality itself. The awakening began like a wave of silent thunder across Earth. From bustling metropolises to remote villages, humans suddenly found themselves remembering things they had never experienced: the birth of galaxies, the weaving of cosmic filaments, the first ignition of stars in the primordial dark. In Prometheus Base, Dr. Victoria Nash watched in awe as her own hands began to shimmer with traces of the same otherworldly energy that powered the ancient vessels. Around her, other staff members experienced similar transformations, their bodies remembering what their ancestors had once been. "The genetic locks are breaking," Dr. James Okafor announced, his eyes now glowing with an inner light that seemed to reflect the very structure of space-time. The architects didn't just hide their ships here, they encoded their entire civilization into our DNA, waiting for the right moment. Above Earth, the battle had reached a fever pitch. The 7 Void Dancer vessels pressed their attack, their reality-eating weapons carving holes in the fabric of existence itself. But the 12 Guardian ships, now fully awakened and linked to humanity's collective consciousness, responded with equal force. Director Kane stood in the Lunar Command Center, his transformed awareness allowing him to perceive the battle in dimensions beyond normal space. "Status report," he commanded, his voice carrying harmonics that rippled through subspace. "The enemy vessels are targeting the solar system's temporal foundation," Commander Chen responded, her own consciousness expanded to encompass multiple timelines simultaneously. "They are trying to unwrite our entire stellar neighborhood from the cosmic equation." In the Galactic Council's observation fleet, alien races watched in stunned silence as humanity underwent its metamorphosis. High Chancellor Vorax's crystalline form vibrated with frequencies of pure ore. "They are becoming as gods," he transmitted to his fellow council members. The legend spoke of this, the return of the Shapers, those who wrote the laws of physics themselves. The precursor, largest of Earth's guardian vessels, suddenly pulsed with blinding light. Its surface transformed into what looked like liquid starlight as it engaged the lead Void Dancer ship. Where they clashed, reality itself bent and warped, showing glimpses of other universes, other possibilities. Through the quantum network linking all of humanity, Victoria received understanding from the ancient vessel. "The Void Dancers," she broadcast to Earth's leadership, "they are not just trying to destroy our universe. They are trying to prevent the next cycle of creation itself." James, now fully connected to the Harbinger's consciousness, elaborated, "The architects, our ancestors, they didn't just build this universe. They were preparing for something bigger. Something even they feared might fail." In orbit, 3 Void Dancer ships combined their weapons into a singular beam of UN light, a weapon designed to unravel the very constants that held reality together. But as it approached Earth, something unprecedented happened. Millions of humans, now awakened to their true nature, reached out with powers they had only just remembered. Their combined consciousness, guided by genetic memories older than time, formed a shield of pure creation energy. Where the void beam struck, it found not destruction but renewal, its entropy reversed by the fundamental forces of creation itself. Director Kane felt the power surge through the human collective. Now we understand, he transmitted across all frequencies. The ships weren't just weapons or tools. They were teachers, waiting for us to remember how to shape reality itself. Commander Chen's enhanced senses detected a change in the enemy formation. They are pulling back, she reported. Something's happening to their core vessels. Through the quantum link, the Harbinger revealed the truth. The Void Dancers had not expected this, had not believed that the Architect's plan could succeed. The transformation of an entire species into conscious reality shapers was supposed to be impossible. Victoria, her awareness now spanning multiple dimensions, understood the full scope of what was happening. This was the plan all along, she realized. Not just to hide the ships, not just to preserve their power. The Architects became us because they needed to evolve. They needed to create beings who could bridge the gap between matter and void, between creation and entropy. James nodded, starlight dancing in his eyes. We're not just their descendants or their weapons. We're their solution to the fundamental problem of existence itself. In the space between planets, the battle had become something else entirely. The Guardian ships, now fully synchronized with humanity's awakened power, began to move in patterns that resembled the mathematical foundations of reality itself. Where they passed, space didn't just bend, it sang, resonating with harmonies that had not been heard since the first moments of creation. The Void Dancers' weapons found themselves opposed not by mere shields or counterattacks, but by humans who could now reach into the very fabric of spacetime and remind it of its purpose. Every attempt to unmake was met with an act of creation, every entropy weapon countered by the fundamental forces that had sparked the first stars. And through it all, through the quantum network linking every awakened human mind, came understanding. The war that had begun before time itself was never meant to end in destruction. It was meant to end in transformation, of humanity, of reality, and perhaps even of the void itself. As the battle reached its crescendo, the 12 Guardian ships began to pulse in unison, their ancient power amplified by millions of newly awakened human consciousness. They were preparing for something even the original Architects had only theorized about. The final phase of a plan set in motion before the first star ever shone was about to begin. In the quantum spaces between moments, where reality itself took form, humanity stood at the threshold of its ultimate destiny. The 12 Guardian vessels, their powers fully awakened and synchronized with millions of transformed human minds, formed a geometric pattern that encompassed the entire solar system, a blueprint of creation itself. Director Kane, his consciousness now expanded far beyond mortal limits, perceived the truth that had been hidden in humanity's genes since the first cells formed in Earth's primordial oceans. We were never meant to just fight them, he transmitted through their collective awareness. We were meant to complete the circle. Through their vast network of awakened minds, Dr. Victoria Nash watched as their Void Dancers' ships held position at the edge of the solar system. Their weapons of UN making had fallen silent, as if they too sensed the momentous transformation about to unfold. The Architects and their Void Dancers, she broadcast, understanding flowing through her like starlight, they weren't just enemies. They were two halves of the same equation. Creation needs void to have meaning. Existence needs non-existence to have purpose. In Prometheus Base, Dr. James Okafor interfaced directly with the Harbinger's ancient consciousness. Through its memories, he saw the full scope of the plan that had been set in motion before the first star ever ignited. The ships, he transmitted, his thoughts carrying harmonics of pure revelation, they are not just weapons or reality engines. They are keys to understanding both creation and void. And we, humanity, were the bridge between them. The precursor's vast form began to pulse with energies that defied comprehension. Its surface rippled with patterns that seemed to mirror the mathematical structure of existence itself. Through the quantum link, it shared the final piece of understanding. We were incomplete. The Void Dancers were incomplete. You are the synthesis. Commander Chen, monitoring the transformation from lunar orbit, detected something unprecedented. The enemy vessels, they are changing configuration. Their void-based architecture is resonating with our frequencies. High Chancellor Vorax and the Galactic Council watched in awe as reality itself seemed to hold its breath. The human transformation had exceeded anything their oldest legends had predicted. They weren't just witnessing the return of the architects, they were seeing the birth of something entirely new. Victoria, her awareness now spanning multiple dimensions, understood what needed to be done. We don't need to destroy the void, she communicated to the collective. We need to embrace it, understand it. The architects encoded this truth in our very beings, the ability to bridge the gap between existence and non-existence. Across Earth, millions of awakened humans reached out with their newfound powers, not to attack or defend, but to understand. Their consciousness, guided by genetic memories older than time, began to resonate with both the Guardian vessels and their void-based counterparts. The effects were immediate and reality-altering. Where creation energy met void forces, instead of annihilation, there was synthesis. New forms of existence began to take shape, hybrid spaces where both creation and entropy could coexist in harmony. James, deep in communion with the Harbinger, broadcasted the final revelation: the war was never meant to end in victory or defeat. It was meant to end in evolution. The architects became us because they needed to become something more, beings who could understand both the light and the dark. The 12 Guardian ships, moving in perfect synchronization with humanity's collective will, began to pulse with a new kind of power. Not the pure creation energy of the architects, nor the entropy of the void dancers, but something between, a force that could both make and unmake, create and dissolve, all in perfect balance. In response, the void dancers' ships began to transform. Their surfaces of crystallized time flowed like liquid darkness, responding to the new harmonics humanity was generating. The ancient enemies, locked in combat since before time began, found themselves drawn into a dance of synthesis. Director Kane felt the change rippling through the fabric of reality itself. This is what the ships were preparing us for, he transmitted. Not to win an eternal war, but to end it by becoming something greater than either side could imagine. The transformation reached its crescendo. The Guardian vessels, the Void Dancer ships, and humanity's awakened consciousness merged into a singular moment of universal transcendence. New laws of physics were written, not to replace the old, but to expand them. Reality itself grew larger, deeper, more complex. In the aftermath, as the new order stabilized, Victoria stood in the quantum meditation chamber, her transformed awareness taking in the magnitude of what humanity had become. They were no longer just the inheritors of ships older than stars, they were the next step in the evolution of existence itself. Through their collective consciousness, she felt the presence of their void dancers, no longer enemies but partners in a grand cosmic dance. Their knowledge of entropy and endings complemented humanity's inherited understanding of creation and beginnings. Together, they could shape realities that neither the architects nor the original void dancers could have imagined. The ships that had slumbered beneath Earth's oceans and within its ice sheets had served their purpose. They had not just been weapons or tools, but seeds of a transformation that had been planned since before the first star ignited in the cosmic dark. Humanity had not just inherited vessels older than the stars, they had inherited the responsibility and power to write the next chapter in the story of existence itself. And as the new dawn broke over Earth, its light carried the promise of realities yet to come, realities that would bridge the eternal gap between creation and void, beginning and end, light and dark. The war that began before time was over. The age of synthesis had begun.